What's going on, boys? Today we are talking ENTJs. Why I like them. To appreciate them, not to set up for anything in the future. The first reason I like ENTJs is they are funny. They play these culturally invented roles to get where they want to be by impressing you and themselves with their ability to play the role or the accomplishments they've achieved using that role. And that, in and of itself, can be funny because, as seriously as they're taking themselves, they inadvertently come off cartoonish, but not exactly in a bad way, the way an ENFP might, even though I like ENFPs, because ENTJs are accomplishing things using those roles. It's fun to get wrapped up in those roles, and the more I like an ENTJ, the more I feel like I'm play acting with them. And as long as it doesn't take a bad turn, I don't feel stupid having fun with them or with the roles they've adopted. It's fun. It's like a masquerade. And you don't even have to feel stupid doing it because they are accomplishing things and they're having fun with it. It's different if that role controls them and you're left expected to act out the tragedy they've built for themselves. But this is a positive video. The next reason I like ENTJs is they can surprise me. Of the types I've studied, ENTJs have the highest probability of not being typical. Nothing is wrong with typical, but it gets boring, and when there are surprises, they're usually negative. With ENTJs, you'll think you have them figured out enough, and you might, but then they'll hit you with something completely unexpected and probably sweet, especially if it comes from someone you aren't expecting, an ENTJ you aren't expecting. Double especially if their role, the persona they adopt, doesn't suggest that has the possibility of existing. Example. A couple years ago, this older dude, ENTJ, wanted to speak with me. It was a little odd because of age, class, and relative aspirations at the time, but I'm thinking, okay, this dude is going to feed me some lines about how much of this persona he is. Then he's going to get my help with a short-term problem or an information problem, and then we will stop speaking. And at first, it goes about the way I expected, except he's being more performative than ENTJs usually are in that situation. And then, after we resolve whatever the question was, he's trying to make small talk and is still performing. And then my buzzers are going off, my SI buzzers, because this isn't normal. What's this dude doing? And I'm being polite without playing along, trying to figure out what the fuck this dude wants from me. And then he starts being extra nice to me, and it hits me. This dude is trying to be a friend. It catches me off guard, and it meant a lot to me. I cut it off there after a few other times of our talking, because friendliness without a shared purpose isn't good. But since then, I've been working to dispel some bad will surrounding him. The world is smaller than you'd think, and it surprises me the number of people with bad things to say about the dude, because he was nothing but kind and caring to me. So my objective for the last couple years, has been serving as precedent for this ENTJ as a good guy not a bad guy. It caught me completely off guard, and that was a nice surprise when I needed one. And you'll run into that sort of thing with higher end ENTJs consistently. You never know what it'll be or when it'll happen, but ENTJs can break your expectations in a good way, more than other types can. The next reason I like ENTJs is a mixture of the persona or role thing and the pleasant surprises thing. ENTJs are cute with their plans, especially when their mask drops and they don't realize they had a mask to begin with. So ENTJs are neurotic psychopaths, and that extends to their warmth. They'll build these elaborate plans and then spring them on you. And when the plan doesn't go the way they expected, because when does anything ever go as expected with shadow types, you're stuck like two deer in headlights against each other. They're going, you didn't follow the script I told you about. And you're going, there's no way you were thinking about that little thing for 6 months. And then they get mad, and it's adorable, but don't let your guard down because in about 2 seconds they're coming at you with a knife. The next thing I like about ENTJs is how grandiose their one thing is. If you haven't watched my other ENTJ videos, ENTJs tend to have this one thing that means a lot to them, that their identity hinges on, yet they never make any progress with. Yet they obsess about, and will talk about as if they are making progress with it. Now, normally I talk about ENTJ's one thing in a critical and mean way, because if you don't, if you make excuses for them, that piles onto the excuses they're already making for themselves, and then they'll never do it, and they'll live with this quiet, ringing regret until they die. But it is a positive thing. It's a fun thing, the one thing. ENTJs might not seem imaginative, but they are. Thinking otherwise is a common mistake. And I think a lot of that creativity gets dumped into their ideas about whatever their one thing is. And it's fun listening to them tell you their grand plan for whatever the one thing is, and the wild life or improved world it will create. And because ENTJs are so hard to figure out completely as individuals, there are always more details in their fantasies that will give you things or ideas to chew on while trying to figure them out, because it'll make no sense looking at them from the outside, but they wouldn't be thinking or saying these things if it weren't integral somehow. That goes for anything they mention in conversations, but it's especially true for the one thing, and it's nice the way they get carried away in it once they get rolling. The next reason I like ENTJs is their appreciation. For me, ENTJs I interact with on a personal level seem always to notice little helpful things I do and don't talk about, and then they appreciate them. It's a small thing, but it means a lot when someone recognizes the care you take when other people would take it for granted or not notice at all. And that extends a little bit into the way with certain ENTJs, I don't have to explain myself constantly. They'll just get it, and it's a breath of fresh air. Now, when they don't get it, there is no way to get them to get it. But if you are picky with ENTJs, that's never an unsolvable problem the way it will be with most other people. The next thing I like about ENTJs is how territorial they get when they like you. They become like animals, both in instincts and in aggression, and it's another warm, adorable aspect about them that probably shouldn't be warm or adorable if you're looking at them from the outside, but don't think about that. There is no way at all that could turn into something surprising, destructive, and stalkery. Another thing I like about ENTJs is their interest in learning. They seem rarely to remember much of what they learn on the conscious level, but they devour so much information. You'll be surprised when clinch information comes up out of the swamp of their minds exactly when you need it. It's a twofer positive. First positive, you get to spend time with someone interested in learning all sorts of different things. Second positive, they will remember key information you thought wasn't important when you can't. And it's the damnedest thing because they will spend hours looking for their keys, their wallet, or their purse because they can't remember where they put it more than 2 times a week. But somehow, right when you need it, they remember this obscure piece of seemingly useless information. It's like the "my mind is an enigma" SpongeBob thing. They'll be sticking toothpicks in a potato, making some kind of imaginary caterpillar for no reason, and you'll be sitting there thinking, how is this creature capable of that much quick knowledge? The next thing I like about ENTJs might be more isolated to my experience with them, but ENTJs are interesting students. I'll work with them on writing, on grammar, on structuring arguments, etc., and I'll feed them all the different rules and we'll edit their paper and get it to an A condition. And then, during their next appointment, I'll be reading their paper, and it's like we didn't learn anything last session. Not one of the rules sticks. But the moment I come to an error they should know how to fix, now they know how to fix it, and they are giving me the lesson on the rule they didn't remember. It's sweet and funny because I'm glad my information was able to help them enough to know how to fix their stuff. But why can't you do it beforehand? It kills me because I want to be there to hold their hands through these sorts of things forever, but I can't, and I want to be sure they are prepared to handle these things on their own. But it seems like they can remember anything, but only with appropriate prompting. I appreciate that they're learning the rules on some level, and connecting to a last point, I appreciate that they appreciate me. They're some of my most vocal supporters at the place I work, and their enthusiasm is great, but it stresses me out they're not knowing how to do these things without the prompting, and I don't know how to fix that. But they're fun students, they stick out, and I like working with them. The last thing I like about ENTJs is how genuine they are, and Demon FE works in their favor on this point. There are key words or key actions that can get me loyal to someone, and ENTJs are good at stumbling into those keywords and key actions. And I say stumbling because it seems accidental the way they get me loyal to them. It's obvious when an ENTJ is trying to get you loyal to them, but those attempts aren't that effective. What is effective are the attempts they are not trying to win you over with. And when you tell them, if you tell them about the things that got you loyal to them, they're going to be confused. From their point of view, whatever string of events created that loyalty will not be what they were thinking they would be. That makes it easier to like and trust them because they have no conscious direction over the reasons you like them. I.e., they can't fuck it up or use it against you, at least in a pointed way. From the ENTJs I've spoken with, that seems to be mutual. You're both passing each other's checks without trying. That makes trusting a whole lot easier, and I suspect that is true for other shadow connections as well. The problem with that is that exact lack of control. You can get too connected with each other, and that can create problems. The same way you develop love for each other intuitively, no conscious thinking on it, is the exact same way you can end up devastating each other. When you have that kind of connection with someone, it's hard to prevent devastation when it happens because you don't know exactly what will and won't devastate each other. But when it happens, because you're on that same wavelength, it will happen at exactly the same time, and it'll be ugly and there will be nothing you can do about it. At least proactively. The only proactive things you can do are keep your guard up or keep your distance, and that feels bad because keeping the equivalent of a knife in your pocket around someone you're supposed to share this connection with, it's not a good feeling. But there is precedent for INTPs and ENTJs getting over that sort of thing, so I suspect it is a matter of time. But those are all the reasons I like ENTJs I can think of right now off the top of my head. I can come across as negative on ENTJs, but it's for self-defense on my part, and because if you're too careful and tender with ENTJs, you risk keeping them incubating away from the level of potential they have, which is a completely different video. I like ENTJs, and I am surprised more people don't like them. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. Concepts or spread out observations are easier to praise than individuals because concepts can't get arrogant. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What do you like about ENTJs? They are nifty. Thanks again for watching, everybody. We have a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can pack it into a cardboard box for easier transport. And that's how much fun we have on this channel. And I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.